Hi folks, welcome to week number 2 of Interpersonal Communications Online for summer of 2013. What I'm hoping to accomplish with this YouTube video or audio is just to give you some tips and ideas as far as things that are due this second week, and perhaps answer some questions that might have come up from last week. So where we're going to start with for this week number 2, which runs June 10th through June 16th, is we start right off on Monday. We have 2 due dates this week, Monday and Friday. And on Monday, you have discussion posting number 1 and then 2 responses to classmates that are due in the discussion area by 11:59 p.m. on Monday. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is to read through chapters 1 and chapters 2. I highly recommend that you go under content on our D2L website and print out the vocabulary worksheets and complete those, making sure that you include page numbers too so that you can use them later when you're doing your discussion postings. I also recommend that you print out the PowerPoint slides that are located in the content area. When you print out the PowerPoint slides, the best thing to do is to print them out as handouts so that you can have 6 slides to a sheet of paper. Otherwise, you wind up wasting 20 or 30 sheets of paper if you do 1 slide per sheet. So I would, if I were doing it, I would print them out 6 slides to a sheet and then just do them in black and white so that you don't use up a whole lot of ink in printing those out. But I do think they're very helpful to have printed out because you can use them then as kind of a base for your note-taking. So as you look at each slide, take notes, include definitions, include concepts and ideas so that when you look back at those slides later, it will help you remember what each of those kind of main parts of the chapter was about. So read chapters 1 and 2, making sure that you complete the vocabulary worksheets, print out and take notes on each chapter using the PowerPoint slides. And once you have completed that, then you're ready to sit down and actually do your discussion posting that's due on Monday. And it's really helpful to have those vocabulary worksheets completed because then you've got all of the concepts from the text right there with page numbers. And you notice on the screen here I do have the grading rubric for your discussion questions. Notice if you look over to the left, if you look at an 8, which is 8 out of 8 is an A, if you look at the superior response or an 8 out of 8 response, you do need to apply 4 concepts to your writing. And with those concepts, you also need to include page numbers and definitions. Now, if you are using the CD, you certainly can just use chapter and section number instead of a page number. So the first discussion question there's actually 2 questions that you're dealing with, and if you look under the discussion area you will see them both there, but they deal with communication competence, which is covered toward the end of the first chapter. And as we talk about communication competence, what you might do, for example, for this discussion posting is talk about where you think you are. What level of competence do you currently feel that you are at? And so as you're writing about where you think you're at, you'll make sure that you include a definition of communication competence and maybe the level that you're at. You'll include the definition of that. And if you look as we move down here and we look toward the bottom of this grading rubric, you see that I'm also asking for you to use specific and detailed examples from your own communication experiences to support opinions or statements. And I really want you then, if let's go back to the example. If you say I'm at this level of communication competence, then support that by talking about your specific and examples from your own communication that indicates to you why you think you're at that particular level of competence. Or as you're answering the question, what motivates you to be a better communicator? Use the information from the textbook and apply it to your own situation. This is where the true learning happens, or this is what really shows me that you understand the information, is that you can take the concepts from the textbook and not just restate them, but then apply them, and that shows me that you're truly learning and understanding the text information. If you notice here at the bottom of the grading rubric, remember that you are supposed to check for grammar and mechanical errors. This is, again, and I know I sound like a broken record, folks, but this is a college level course. So you need to make sure that you double check all of your spelling, your grammar, your punctuation, and your discussion postings. It can be a little challenging because students kind of view that discussion area as almost similar to a Facebook or a texting context because it is a discussion posting. Remember, however, no texting language, no abbreviations. It should be college level writing in the discussion area. Remember that I encourage you, if you would like to use Word or another type of word processing software, that's perfectly fine, but please do not attach your discussion posting as a document. Make sure that you cut and paste it into the discussion text box. Lastly, make sure that you post your discussion posting first. You will not be able to read anybody else's discussion postings until your own is posted. But once you get yours posted, make sure that you go through and read your classmates' postings and then choose 2 of them to respond to. And remember, as it says here on the bottom of the grading rubric, you need to have your responses need to be 50 to 75 words in length in order to earn points. There is no need to cite concepts or definitions in your responses to classmates like there is in your discussion posting. I do ask, however, that again, and this just is real common sense, that you are respectful to your classmates, even if you're disagreeing with what they've written, that you state that in a very respectful, other-centered sort of way. Also, again, making sure that you're checking your spelling and your grammar for college level writing in your responses to classmates. So that is what is due on week number 1 is your first discussion posting. You're going to do 4 of these throughout the semester, so it's always great to get a good start on them and really understand what the grading rubric is calling for. The second thing that you will need to complete this week is to make sure that you take quiz number 1 and number 2 by Friday, June 14th at 11:59. I do highly recommend that you do your reading, your discussion question, your responses to classmates, and then right away take the quizzes while that information is fresh in your head. And as you are quizzing, please remember that you only have 20 minutes to complete the quiz. If you go over that, you will get a 0 on the quiz, so watch the quiz timer carefully. Make sure that you have your completed worksheets, your vocab worksheets in front of you. Make sure you have your PowerPoint slides with your notes in front of you. Also make sure that if you've ordered the book and gotten the book in time, make sure that you have the book in front of you, just in case you do have to look up 1 or 2 questions. Remembering again that this quiz requires that you know the information in your head, because you certainly won't have time to look up 13 questions in 20 minutes. So do really spend the time preparing and understanding the material in the textbook. Last but not least, just kind of a look ahead till next week, which will be week number 3. You do not have an assignment on Monday, but on Friday, June 21st, your instruction manual is due and quizzes 3 and 4 are due. So I would recommend that you get your discussion postings and your quizzes done early this week so that you can start working on chapters 3 and 4 and your instruction manual assignment. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an audio reminder as far as what is due for week number 2. If you do have any questions, please make sure that you let me know. Send me an email or post in the Cyber Cafe under the discussion area if you have a question that you think other folks in the class might have. One of the biggest questions that I got last week was, how do we cite concepts from the text? And again, just make sure, folks, that you include page numbers and definitions in your discussion posting. So other than that, I think we are off to a great start. I'm excited to see so many of you working ahead and getting your work done early. I think that's a fabulous way to start the summer. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Enjoy. We're supposed to have a little warm weather and a little bit of sunshine, so enjoy the weather and keep on working hard, folks. Let me know if you have any questions.